Hello guys and welcome. Today I'm going to be showing you how I created these tags using Julie Nutting Dolls and the Simon Says Stamp Card Kit of the month for the month of May. I was participated in a collaboration swap using Gorgeous Girls and Julie Nutting Dolls. I was trying to choose which one to use and I decided I would paper piece them just like this girl show right here. So this is the girl I will be using. And I decided to go and stamp her with using VersaFine Onyx ink onto some Bristol Smooth paper. So I stamped her 5 times because I wanted to make 4 tags and maybe keep one for myself. 3 for the people that we're swapping with, 1 for the hostess, and then, the one I wanted to keep to maybe gift later on to someone. So once I had them all stamped, I am trying to choose the paper I am going to be using, and these are the papers that are included in the kit, which are all beautiful. I was setting aside the ones that I thought I would be using, but once I got to this one with the little flowers and the green one that was next to it, I knew that those are the ones I wanted to use. So I went ahead and did her dress using the floral pattern. And I'm trying to measure or kind of eyeball how much paper I will need. Because this is the only sheet I had, I wanted to make sure that I didn't waste any of it. So I cut a strip of it first and then I flipped my girl so that way I could make the most of it. I didn't want to chance it. So once I stamped her in there, ink didn't stamp it. You can already see the little skirt is looking so cute. So I just flipped over my paper and I stamped her one more time. And I did the same thing for the others. So I actually ended up with only, I was able to make all 5 of them actually. But anyway, to color my girl, I went ahead and I used my Copic markers. Now for this one, I used the set that is called Skin Tone set, I believe. And this is about the only one I have. I do have a few of single colors of Copics, but most of the time I use my Spectrum Noir. Since this one's already has the colors kind of selected for you, it was a lot easier, so I didn't have to kind of see which combinations to use. What I do first is I add the darker shade and where I think that the shade would be on the on her legs or her knees, and then I go back with the lighter color to blend everything. Also the sections that I wanted it to be a little bit of a shade, I went ahead and used the tip to tip method where you touch the tip of your lighter marker to the darker, and that gives you a little bit of the shade of a blend and it doesn't look as harsh. So I went ahead and did the same for her rest of her arms, her face, and her neck. Now let me also mention that the ink that I chose for this was actually the wrong ink because VersaFine ink is not alcohol friendly. So sometimes if you're not careful, you can get some bleeding of the ink, which, luckily enough, I was careful with it. At first I thought I would use my watercolor markers for these, but I decided to go with Copics instead. So I was lucky it didn't blend or it didn't bleed out. So once I was done with my doll, I went ahead and added a little bit of a pink color to her cheeks. I did speed up the coloring process on this one because, I didn't want it to take too long. But you can see here, it kind of looks a little blotchy, but once you add and blend the colors in and the color dries, it looks better. I went back and I added a little bit more of that darker color on where I wanted the shadow to be, and since her head is tilted, I added a little bit on a darker color on her neck. I had already stamped the little top of her dress on that green paper, and here I am just cutting them out. And when I fussy cut to this one, when you paper piece, you want to cut right up to the line because you don't want it extra paper to show, because it's not a sticker. You want it to look uniform, like if it was meant there to be, or like if it was colored. So I went ahead and did that. Now you can see the little bows on the girl's shoulders. I thought about maybe fussy cutting those out, but it was going to be a little bit of a pain, so I decided to just leave those out, cut straight through them. But I did leave that little ribbon that was on her belly on this set instead of the dress. So I went ahead and did that, and then just cut around it, like I said, just right to the edge, and cut all the way through. I did the same thing to the dress, and as you can see, she's already looking so pretty. So I did the same thing with the dress, and because it is a big shape and the frills are pretty big, it wasn't that hard to fussy cut it all out. So I went and fussy cut everything, and once I was done with that, I went ahead and tried to ink it. Now I am showing you here, when you are fussy cutting, you do want to move your paper, not the scissors, because it's a lot easier for you to kind of move it around. And I think that makes sense, as you're fussy cutting it. Also because you want to be careful not to, cut past that black line. Once I go and, dress here, I think I was taking a break. I go back and finish cutting it. To glue it, before I glue it, I decided to add a little bit of ink with a pen around the edges, so it gives it a little bit more of a finished look and cover any imperfections that you might have left when you were fussy cutting. Once you start putting it together, it is already looking so pretty. And I forgot to mention that on her little dress, I did add a little bit of color with the like a kind of like a lighter marker to add a little bit of shading to it. So I see here on the camera you can't really see it, but in real life you'll be able to tell. Once I put her together, I apologize I didn't leave the footage of when I color her hair or her headband, but it was pretty much the same type of coloring. Now I have all my dolls here cut out, and I'm going to show you how I color the flowers. I was kind of playing with colors, and at first I thought I would do that purple flower, but I decided to go with this peach light color to match it better with her dress. So I just mix a couple of different colors here, and what I'm doing here first is just adding the darker shade, or the darker of the when I have more pigment, onto where I think the petal should be darker, which is closer to another petal or underneath the petal. So I went ahead and I colored everything on all of the flowers. I did stamp these a few times because I wanted to make my tags to be exactly the same. Since this was my first time swapping tags, I wasn't sure if you were supposed to make them all the same or make them different, but in this case I decided to make them all the same. So since I wasn't sure which flowers I was going to use, I decided to stamp them a few times and then just color them. Either way, I can always use them for something else. At the end, you'll be able to see that I did make a card with it, and I didn't show the process for that, but I already had the flowers already fussy cut and colored, so it was just perfect to just put it together. So again, like I said, I am just doing all the coloring on all of the flowers, and I do the same, just finish the whole sheet. And once I'm done with that, I went ahead and added a little bit of more water to dilute the color or make it look lighter. I did have to mix a little bit more, but once I dilute it, I just go back and color the rest of the petals. And I forgot to mention that what I'm using here to color is my Koi watercolor inks, and I think this is a 24 set. I don't have color names. They do have numbers, but I'm just kind of mixing the colors. And once you get playing with mixing watercolors, you can just create any color you want. So that was pretty cool. So once I went back and I added onto the rest of the petals and colored them, I did add a little bit more of a like pink color to the top to make a little bit of highlights to the petals. So I think I didn't show that on this video, but I apologize for that. But like I said, it was just kind of mixing the colors, and I wanted to stay soft and have just soft color for spring. The idea that I had on my head, I was thinking it was going to be looking pretty cool and elegant. So now I am going to be showing you here for the green. I used some of that yellow and that bright green, mix them a little bit together to create that more muted olive color that kind of went well with the color of the little flower petals or the leaves that were on the girl's dress. It was a little bit darker than the color for her top, but it was okay because I didn't want it to be exactly the same, since I didn't paper piece, which you could also do paper piecing on these flowers, stamp them on pattern paper and then cut them out. So once I was done, I went ahead and fussy cut them out. Again, these are pretty big shapes and easy to cut. I believe the stamp set does have the dies, the coordinating dies, but I don't own them. The card kit only came with the stamp set, but you could always fussy cut them. Another thing I like about doing fussy cutting is that leaving that white edge around it. You don't have to leave it so wide, so I do like that, because sometimes on certain things, if you leave that big edge that dies do, it doesn't look that great. But anyway, that's just me. So now to put the tag together, I did one ahead of time to show you, and I did leave a little bit of the stenciling to show you what I did. I used this stencil that I had purchased from Michael's a while back, and it fit perfect two of the tags. So I am using my cracked pistachio distress oxide ink, and I am just using the ink blending tool to dab it around. Because the stencil is so intricate, I didn't want to, just kind of go circle around it, so all I'm doing is kind of dabbing and twisting, adding the color onto the tag. And I didn't go all the way down because I was going to be adding some elements on the bottom, and I wanted it to look a little bit unfinished. And so here I have all my elements cut out, my dolls, my flowers, and the embellishments and things that I am going to be adding. I decided to add this burlap here at the bottom, and for that I used my glue gun to put it together, just to make sure that it kind of caught on all of those little strips of strings so it doesn't fray. Once I had it glued, I trimmed it out, and then I also added this bling at the bottom. It's a gold bling that I purchased from Dollar Tree. Now, since I had my glue gun handy, and once I decided the flowers I was going to be using, I used it to glue them onto the tag. Also because I wanted to leave a little bit of edge around it to add the little leaves and the sprigs around it. So I just cut those out and, just kind of put them where I thought that they look good, just kind of fill in the space. And I ended up using just these two flowers. So it's that big bloom and the little bud. And like I said, I'm just adding the little leaves there to just kind of fill in the space using my hot glue gun. And then I just go back and cut the leaves just so I can use the single ones. I put a little bit on the top and a little bit on the bottom so it can be, nicely secure there, and make sure that it looks nice. I thought that just adding these elements, will look pretty cool. Now, another thing that I wanted to add is this little ticket that I punched out. And it was already punched out in like this orange paper, but I decided to add a little bit of that worn lipstick to kind of make it pop a little more, and then a little bit of the black suit to distress the edges. This one I actually forgot to mention as well, that the hello word, I stamped it with black ink and then also stamped it again and added some gold embossing powder. And I thought it looked very cool. Now, to add another embellishment, I am using these flat back pearls, and I'm using my quick stick pickup tool to pick them up and add a little bit of the hot glue, so that way I can put it there. I was thinking about adding ribbon or something else, but I thought that just made it look nice and elegant. I do like to make clean and simple things, so they just work out perfect. Now, for this little ticket, I decided to kind of curl it a little bit with my pickup tool, and then just added glue on the sides so that way it can pop up a little. Now it was time to add my girl, and for that I used foam tape because I wanted her to stand out a little bit more, and I just added a lot of the foam tape all around. When I am adding foam tape to things, I just like to make sure that I go all around, and that's why I cut the little strips like that, rather than just putting a big thing in the middle and putting her, because if you're going to be mailing her, I didn't want her to get squished or ruined, so that's why I do that. And I just add a little bit on the center, and then she's all done. So I just go back and remove all of the backing of the tape. And this is, I'm using the Scotch 3M foam tape, which is really good tape to glue it. And it's only one layer. You could always double it and add extra layers if you need it to be a little bit more puffy, but in this case I just wanted her a little bit raised. Just glue her in there, and that's pretty much my tag. Now, I did decide to add a little bit of sparkle to the flowers, and I went ahead and added that with my this is a Spectrum Noir sparkle pen. So there you have it. Now, to back it, I decided to use this teal color, and this is an 8.5 by 4 inch. Both papers that I use are the heavyweight. I believe they're 110 or 120 pounds, so it's going to be pretty sturdy with just those two layers. And then I glued the whole thing onto the tag. Then I used my Crocodile to punch the little hole, and I'm using this green ribbon that I had for to put it through. I thought it went perfect with the tag, and just kind of tying in all the green from the dress, from the flowers. So I thought it looked very pretty. So that's pretty much my tag. I hope that you guys enjoyed this video, and make sure that you go and check out the other video where I show you how I package them. And real quick here, sorry about my head there. I wanted to show you that, because I cut out those little bows and I still wanted to add a little bit extra, I decided to make little bows using just regular thread. I had this green thread that I purchased from Hobby Lobby a while back, and it matched perfectly. So I just doubled it and make itty bitty bows to add. I am using glossy accents here to add them on, and I did the same thing. As you can see here, I like doing things assembly style, so I went and had all my tags ready and did all the bows for all of them. And I thought about keeping all of the length like that, but I decided to go back and cut them short. So this is the thread that I use, and there they are. So I hope that you guys enjoyed this video, and like I said, go make sure that you check out my other video. I will have links of everybody that participated, and here is a card that I mentioned as well. So hope you guys enjoyed it. Have a wonderful day, and I'll catch you in the next video. Bye.